Welcome back to Inside the Ring, boxing's official show of record. I'm your host, Max Kellerman. That's our insider, Mike Coppinger. That is former heavyweight contender and now world-class trainer Malik Scott. And that is all-decade. Which decade, Shady? Which
09, 010, one of them.
What do you mean? Wait, that's a year.
Is it 2010?
2010? So wait, up to 2010 or 2010 to 2020?
2020.
Which decade?
Up
You got to know which decade.
I know that.
You were all-decade running back.
2010 to 2020,
yeah.
I know that.
He's a big
baby.
He's a big boxing fan. All right, guys, we have some huge news to get into, so let's get right to it. The lead hook. Guys, some major breaking news this morning. Zuffa Boxing has announced a long-term streaming deal with Paramount Plus. Zuffa Boxing will also no longer be acknowledging any of the sanctioning bodies and will be going off of the ring rankings only. Hallelujah. I have been waiting for this day for about 25 years, since Lennox Lewis got robbed against Evander Holyfield at the Garden and given a draw. That was the last time I mentioned the sanctioning bodies on the air, and have been referring exclusively to Ring Magazine rankings since then. No, not just because now I'm on Inside the Ring. I got receipts. You can check my social media.
I'm gonna check your receipts now.
I got receipts from 23 years ago saying this exact thing, and finally I feel like the day has come to pass. Guys, you know how I always say there's no they in boxing?
Yeah.
For example, if I said, you know what they should do in the NFL? In football. You know what they should do in football? Am I talking about some other? No, I'm talking about the NFL. You know what they should do in basketball? There are a million basketball leagues. I'm talking about the NBA. There's never been a they there in boxing. But that's what I am doing here in all this, guys. I feel like for the first time in my lifetime, there's a real chance for boxing to have a they there. And I will tell you what I mean. Eddie Hearn, from hearing him recently talk, has made it pretty clear that, when he's dealing with, because everyone understands Riyadh season and the Saudi investment in boxing right now. Thank God for Turki Al-Sheikh, right? Because when fights can't be made, he's papered it over with money and made the big fights happen and all that stuff. And also has a dedicated team that's worked very hard to get everyone to this place. But Eddie's made it pretty clear he's taking marching orders, right? I was involved in the Riyadh season TKO partnership and collaboration that brought about Canelo and Crawford. I was on the broadcast team, and I can tell you, seeing it up close, that was a collaboration in the best sense of the word. Constant communication, expertise on both sides, resources on both sides, trying to put something together and succeeding at the highest level and in a way that boxing has not experienced before. So, and for those, because I've seen this reaction too, well, I'm now employed by these entities, and so, no, the reason I am employed by those entities is because I wanted to be involved in this. And so this is what I mean. Okay, do you understand that there was a college football game scheduled for the Saturday of Canelo Crawford? When was the last time a boxing event in North America got a college football game moved to week 0 to make way for a big fight?
That ain't happening.
Then they had the audacity to put it in a football stadium, right? They got a subsidy from the Las Vegas Convention Authority. They did things that normally are not associated with boxing promotions. The fan experience was more like the kind you get at an NFL game.
Yes, it was.
And by the way, let me give you an example of this. I want to show you 2 pictures. Here is the first picture. This is the Fanatics TKO. You see this, the Zuffa, see this? That's what the merchandise looked like. That's what you expect at a Major League Baseball game. This was Canelo's booth. That's more like what you see at a fight. Right? It's nothing against Canelo. This is what fights look like. But they don't usually look like the first picture. There is an attempt being made to bring boxing to the level of the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball. There's a new boxing video game, by the way. Friday, Silver Lake, who's a shareholder in TKO, announced a partnership with the Public Investment Fund, Saudi Arabia, PIF, to take EA Sports private, right? And there's an idea that there could be a new boxing video game underway.
I'm a copy.
There are the kinds of things happening in boxing now that have not happened in my lifetime. I'm 52 years old, okay? we're just not used to this sort of stuff. So I'm very excited by it, and and that's why I'm involved in it.
Yeah, Max, I mean, there's been so many problems with boxing over the years, obviously. Talk about the best not fighting the best. You talk about all these fights being behind a paywall on pay-per-view. But to me, the thing you said off the top, Max, no more sanctioning body acknowledgement. That is the key to all of this. No entity in boxing has done more damage to the sport than the sanctioning bodies. The WBC, the WBA, the WBO, the IBF. You don't mention them, I'm going to mention them right here.
Why even say them?
The rankings don't reflect reality. They block more fights than anything else. So I always hear this, well, the fighters want to fight for these titles. They grew up with the titles, and yes, that is true. But I think if Zuffa Boxing is going to be successful over time, they will say, I want to fight for that belt.
This is what I would say about the initialisms that he just called out, the sanctioning bodies. In college football, I mentioned the college football game was moved. In college football, there's a national title game. There are lots of bowl games, right? But you might win a bowl game, a prestigious bowl game, and you're only the 6th ranked team, right? Because there's only one national title.
That's right.
That's how people should start wrapping their minds around the Ring Magazine champion. The champion of a division is Ring Magazine champion. If you have another belt, you got a bowl win. Good for you. That's not nothing. It's a promotional tool. It means you beat probably someone pretty good, but you might only be the 6th or 8th or 10th best fighter in your division.
Right.
And it was a great. I just, from my point of view, was just TKO's first fight. Obviously, was with Crawford and Canelo.
Yeah.
And when you talked about the Super Bowl, it made me. You said a football game, but for me, it's like the Super Bowl. Everything was ran like so well. And you bring in Dana White, and you talk about Turkey making the best fights. Where now there's no more excuses. So when you want to fill up a 70,000 venue, you can do it because fans are going to go watch these fights. You got the best fight and the best. And I will say this, man, boxing's in great hands. The things that they're doing right now, and it makes everybody, the fans, and people want to go and watch these fights.
Yes, and I remember coming up, Max, like the belts. We'll say, before I even was born, we'll say when Larry Holmes was champion. People identified the belts from a visual standpoint. They wouldn't care if it was called the ABC, whatever the belt was called. They recognized a champion. And I think right now, this is the most important thing that I see that can come from this right here, that people will recognize a champion. One man, one name, one face.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean?
By the way, Malik, you bring up Larry Holmes. He had a belt at the time that was considered the most prestigious one. I don't mention them by name. And he didn't want to make certain title defenses because he'd already beaten Jerry Cooney. He was on the back nine of his career. He just wanted some easier fights. So he was stripped of that belt. And there was another belt, the other two belts were based in Mexico at the time. There were 3, not 4. And there was one belt based in America, in New Jersey actually, was the headquarters. And that belt, no one recognized. They awarded it to Larry Holmes. And then all of a sudden, everyone recognized it. Why? Because everyone knew he was the champ.
Right. They already know it. Right?
It's kind of like Aristotle says, right?
The champion makes the belt.
You're going to quote
I'm going to quote Aristotle. If you're
Yes.
friends with everyone, you're friends with no one. So if you have multiple champions, you really have no champions at all.
You feel that you have no friends, Mike?
Not on this show, Max. I have 3 friends right now. But
Well, you know what they say if you're friends with everyone.
Yeah, right.
Guys, you mentioned, you called out Dana and Turkey, and this is something that I've done consistently because it's true. The reason I thought this, and I believe this has a chance to work, it hasn't happened yet.
Right.
An amazing kickoff to the whole thing,
far,
Canelo and Crawford, so far so good. But the reason I believe it has a real shot is Turki Al-Sheikh has a ton of resources and he has a big imagination. Look at the Crawford.
And he's a real fan.
Look at the Crawford. That's the key. He's an
cares, too.
actual boxing
Real fan of
fan.
boxing.
For years, people who didn't even really love boxing were calling shots. Turkey is 100% a boxing fan. Dana White is a boxing fan. If you go to the UFC headquarters, where I've been several times, every room is like a museum of boxing. Of boxing.
Even his office. Yes.
He's not doing it to show it to the world. Does the world even know?
Right.
He's a boxing fan. And also, Dana White built an institution. The UFC is an institution, meaning
works.
after Dana's gone, he doesn't have a suite of offices somewhere. They have like an airline hangar with so many employees like the NFL or the NBA. So once you have all that stuff in place, all you really need is the most competent executive there is, right, to run it. Nick Khan. Nick Khan is the most competent executive. So the fact that those 3 people came together and are pooling their resources and collaborating on this, and they all love boxing, I think
because they care.
it has a shot.
And I think the fans is going to be more happy whether they realize it or not right now. I think they're going to be more happier than they've been in over 30, 40 years when it comes to boxing, because like you just said, these guys are actually fans of boxing. And how can you tell that? Forget what we're saying. Look at the matchups. There's fights. Canelo and Crawford doesn't happen without these guys.
No,
It
of
just
course not.
doesn't.
Of course not.
It wouldn't even
No,
been
take
thought of.
Turkey away, there's
Yes,
no
there's
Canelo
no
Crawford.
Canelo
There's a lot
Crawford.
of fights like that. There's a lot of fights where, because we all love boxing. We love it. We love contact sports. But the problem has been having is, well, this top guy's not fighting this top guy at the right time, and they're waiting for the right time to fight him, and fans don't want to hear that. So now when you bring Turkey in here, just think about all the fights we've been getting. Now we have them conversations of the best fighting the best. We're not going to have them issues where we're not getting the elite guys fighting.
Not only the fights that we're not getting, but the fights that we are getting because of the sanctioning bodies all the time. How many nonsense mandatories we have to sit through, right?
And eliminators.
With the eliminators, and wait, who's this guy? He's number one, he's the mandatory? No one's
Guys,
ever heard of him.
all the sanctioning bodies are promotional tools. The idea that by having a certain belt, it signifies that you are the champion of the weight class, that ship sailed long ago. That has not been the message the public has gotten. That's why it's too hard to follow the sport. But the Ring Magazine belt means that their policy is, if their top two guys fight each other, that's the champion, right? Or if you put all the belts together, the other belts, that's the champion. And then you don't get stripped unless you leave the division permanently, retire, or you're beaten in the ring. Right? Then the belt is vacant or it moves to somebody else. But it takes away all of the politics. And when I was a kid, you could pick up a Sports Illustrated, and on the cover was Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard, Larry Holmes. It's like, as much as any other athlete, you could follow boxing in the mainstream, and you can't anymore. Right? And hopefully you will be able to again.
Right. And Malik, you mentioned, right, people know the belts by the visual.
By the visual.
Which belt is more famous and more visually stunning than the Ring Magazine title? Rocky won it. We all know it. It's the most beautiful belt. We're not just saying it because of the show. It just is.
Do you pay commission on that belt? On the
No.
Absolutely
Of
not.
course, that's what I'm saying. Of course
No,
not.
right. You don't have to pay a
Of course
sanctioning
not,
fee.
yeah.
That's not, they're actually being run like a real business, not a going out of business sale.
You know what's crazy? So Malik, I put a little money on these fights. You know, I like to see good fights. But it's crazy because if you take about 7 years ago, like you really couldn't get great fights, right? The odds were so big. But now in the last 2 years, a lot of them tough fights are close. So now I can bet on Bud versus Canelo because I can win me some money. It's plus money, or it's maybe minus 150, as in you put it on
Because the competitive nature is so
Yeah, so it's so
By
close.
the way, that's the point of Zuffa Boxing also, because when I was called about even Canelo Crawford and told about the ideas that Dana and Nick and Turkey had, the idea was 50-50 fights.
There you go.
I mean, by the way, and sometimes there's 60-40 fights. Like
sure.
on the undercard
close
of Canelo and Crawford, there were a bunch of 60-40
bunch
fights
of them,
where
yes.
40 beat 60.
Yes, it was.
Because if
Great
you have
point,
a
Matt.
coin
The
weighted,
B-side.
if you have a coin weighted very slightly, almost half the time, it's still going to wind up
The
on the other
B-side
side.
had a good night.
The B-side
Yes,
had a good night.
Yes,
So
yes.
so forget about this thing. We're going into the fight. There's a protected fighter who's going to be fed someone. You already know the outcome.
Right.
You're going to go into a fight on a monthly basis, not knowing who's going to win.
That's a great point.
And Shady, you made a great
That's
point.
Thank
Why
you,
is the
Matt.
NFL king? Betting. There's people that don't even care about the NFL and they want to gamble on Sundays.
And what can happen in the NFL?
Anybody can win.
Any given Sunday.
Oh,
And how-
everybody but the Eagles. Everybody but the Eagles. Everybody but the
I
Eagles.
hate to say it, you might be right about that one, brother. But listen, you know what? Even any given Sunday, even the Patriots, when they went undefeated
That's
in
true.
07, 08,
Yeah, that's true.
the Giants beat
Yeah.
them. And with Zuffa Boxing, I think the idea is any given Saturday or whatever day you choose, you don't know the outcome heading in.
Because even Canelo, I mean, when's the last time it was almost a 50-50 fight with him or a 60-40 fight? Right? You had to think about
If it
the way
was that
Bivol-
close, he lost it.
Right.
Yeah, so
it was that
right.
close,
But I'm
he
just
lost
saying,
it.
betting wise, it really hasn't been that close. If you want to bet on Canelo,
Yeah, you could throw out the A-side, B-side thing.
Throw
Because
that
as you
out.
said, on the Canelo Crawford undercard, the B-side won as much as the
It was a
A-side.
real good night
yes,
for
it
the
was.
B-side.
Right, and
yes.
Max, I think one thing that's being overlooked here, and you mentioned it earlier, right? Nick Khan, brilliant guy, knows boxing, managed Manny Pacquiao, managed James Toney, runs WWE. Obviously, Turkey Al-Sheikh and Dana White. We don't have to say any more about them. We know how good they are. But I think the key here is all these other people that come into boxing, they have no patience, right? They try it in and they come in, they come out. I think all of these guys in Zuffa Boxing have the patience to see this out. They're not trying to microwave boxing.
Right, not microwaving it is important. And this goes back to the point that I've made ad nauseum about how boxing is everyone's, in fact, favorite sport.
It's their favorite sport.
If you come to a street corner and on one corner there's a pickup basketball game, on another corner flag football, on a third corner someone's putting a golf ball, on a fourth corner there's a fist fight, the crowd is always around the fist fight, right?
Fist fight.
And so then you say, well, why are the other sports more popular? Because if you redo the thought experiment and it's Tom Brady throwing to Randy Moss and it's, Tiger Woods putting a golf ball and two guys no one knows having a fist fight, now all of a sudden it's a little different. You have to be able to tell the stories of the fighters. The public needs to know who the fighters are, what's at stake, etc. And the issue with boxing, the reason that hasn't happened is because it's laissez-faire capitalism, meaning there is no central authority making long-term plans for the sport. It is just a kind of free-for-all. So as Dana White says, every fight is a going out of business sale. How can we juice the public for as much money as we can for this fight? Oh, we'll put it on pay-per-view. It's siloed here now. No one can see this thing, but we'll keep juicing this smaller and smaller pie for everything it's got. Think about what happened with Canelo Crawford. What did Turkey and Dana and Nick do? They put it on Netflix. It's the biggest possible platform. Because that's how you grow
over
the sport.
41 million viewers.
41 million.
And the stadium, oh my God, it was so much eye-candy.
The entrances.
I was going, everybody was there though. I mean, he, whoever you thought of was in the building. That's how great it was. I'm going back. Listen, I'm not going to miss a fight.
Coming up, our interview with Conor Benn. We'll be right back on Inside the Ring.
Anthony Yarr, he fears no man. He wants David Benavidez, and there's not a lot of fighters in the world that do.
Body shot from Yarr. Shot to the head, down he goes. Solid shot, right hand.
Anthony Yarr.
Bad blood. Genuine hatred. Chris or Conor. This fight living up to all the hype.
Chris Eubank.
Welcome back to Inside the Ring. Max, Mike, Malik, Deshaun, Shady.
Deshaun? Why not? You like my dad?
Government
Yeah, give you a firm handshake. Come on, firm handshake. Yes. Good to meet you, sir. Yes, very good. Look, last week we talked about the state of heavyweight boxing. Ring Magazine recently released their updated heavyweight rankings, and falling out of the top 10 was former heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua. Also not in the top 10, former heavyweight belt holder Deontay Wilder. Now, guys, we looked into this, and it is the case that several heavyweight boxers have come back to win the heavyweight title or a belt after falling out of the ring's top 10. But the question in the case of Anthony Joshua in particular, since the news is Joshua has fallen out of the top 10 this week, is can he become one of those fighters who you're loaded on AJ. Go ahead. You just loaded. AJ. You can't wait to get off on AJ.
I want to know what he did to you.
With all the accolades, you would think he would get it.
I don't know the brother. I'm just honest. So I'm gonna be wait patiently. I'm gonna let you guys talk how great AJ is. He did this and that. He beat Klitschko and all that. And then I'm gonna give you my
Joseph
piece.
Parker.
And Joseph Parker.
Go ahead.
So this is the thing, Max. I really believe that Anthony Joshua coming back. First of all, he's eliminated strictly because of inactivity, nothing else, because we can use examples. Dubois lost, he's still in the top 10, but the good momentum and the mentions of him fighting again is still active. And plus he lost to Alexander Usyk. Right. Who else is there?
You've been in camp with what, 11 times?
Yeah, I was in camp with Usyk, shared 11 camps with him, so the hard work is there. But Anthony Joshua is only out of that because of inactivity. But to me, the disappointing part is the negative momentum that it seemed like that's been had since he fought and lost to Dubois. I just believe at that level when you're fighting and you take a knockout loss like that, you have to get into the public, you have to campaign hard for fights. It seemed like, if I'm not mistaken, I even think I read something about AJ posted something about retirement. This game has done this game has done so good for me, like kind of hinting around it. I think like that right there also could get you out of the mix. Like you have to make yourself relevant, especially after getting knocked out.
But let's say he does that. Do you think he's capable of ever competing at the very top of the heavyweight division successfully? Could he ever be in a scenario, because you know how this goes, there's an upset, suddenly a guy who's not as good as Usyk has the title or a belt. Could AJ be in a position to win a fight like that?
Depending on who is champion. And right now, Alexander Usyk is champion, and we already know he tried to go in that tree 2 times and he failed.
By the way, he gave him competitive fights.
Both times, too. Very underrated. That's what I keep trying to tell
exactly.
people.
I'm trying to.
Like,
AJ got a real resume.
Especially in the first fight with Usyk. AJ was putting it on him. He had some big moments that hurt Usyk. AJ, I think maybe at one point he was overrated, and now he's being underrated. I think Joshua, he's been a godsend for boxing in the UK. One of the biggest draws in boxing history over there, maybe in the world. Sold out stadiums a bunch of times. I think AJ can definitely win a title. When you talk about titles. But is he going to beat an Usyk or a Fury? I don't see it.
All right, here's my take on you want to go last, you go last, Shady. Here's my take. Here's my take on AJ. What you have to understand about AJ, and I was there, like when he turned pro, at the time I was at HBO, and I was running around telling anyone who would listen, hey, AJ should be here at HBO. And he's not going to be a long-term dominant heavyweight champion, but he could be like a heavyweight Arturo Gatti in the sense that he's vulnerable defensively in certain ways, but I thought at the time had a lot of heart, and he's a puncher. So Olympic gold medalist, big person, like a likable personality. He could be a boxing star involved in many great fights for many years, right? Something has changed. Now, first of all, when he won the title, the real title, the championship had never passed hands in the heavyweight division quite like that. And what I mean by that is Tyson Fury upset Vladimir Klitschko. But then he went into retirement, right? He retired from boxing. He had all kinds of problems, drugs and psychological problems. And he's been very upfront about it. And over 300 pounds, ballooned up. I'm done with boxing. In his absence, the lineal champion was gone. In his absence, a consensus formed around AJ. But it formed around AJ because of the fight against Vladimir Klitschko, who even though Tyson Fury had beaten him, had reigned dominantly for 10 years, and Fury beat him in an awful fight, right? He didn't beat him up. He just outboxed him. It was not a good fight.
Eye-appealing.
And so in a way, psychologically and emotionally, on the night in front of 100,000 people in England, I was there that night. I called the fight for American television. On that night, Anthony Joshua, the Olympic gold medalist and the rising star, fights Vladimir Klitschko, the new guy against really emotionally the old guy from the previous generation. They had one of the greatest heavyweight slugfests you will ever see. AJ knocked Klitschko down. Klitschko got up and crashed AJ. It was the kind of knockdown you're like, he might not get up. AJ got up and won the fight.
At a stadium, too.
In a stadium. It was such a coronation unlike I'd ever seen in the heavyweight division in that sense. And then he goes on to beat Joseph Parker, who's a very good fighter at the time, a very good prospect, and on and on. And he loses eventually to Andy Ruiz. Now, he had Ruiz down and it looked like out. Typical great AJ fight. Sometimes he wins them, sometimes he doesn't. Ruiz gets up and knocks him out. Something happened since then where he came back in a way like what in boxing parlance it's called being a scary fighter. A scary fighter does not mean that you're scaring other people. It means that you're fighting scared. Since the Ruiz fight, even when he's had success, he has fought to me in a way that says that he is not the same guy psychologically that he used to be. That's the issue he has.
Now you're cooking though. Now I'm in the kitchen with you cooking.
Go ahead.
Because when you talk about AJ getting knocked down for Klitschko and coming up and winning that fight, can you see him doing that now? Because I can't. And when you talk about the mental aspect, I don't care which sport it is. You can be as talented, you're strong, as powerful. You got to have that thing upstairs. And when I look at AJ now, I can't see him coming back and getting in the top 10. I can't see him coming back and winning a meaningful fight because his attitude don't show it.
What you're saying is there's a quit in him now. Are you saying that?
All I'm saying is when I look at AJ, when I hear his interviews, when I hear he talks, after fights, when he loses, what his answers are, and his answer to me is not that, hey, I'm coming back stronger. You talked about Fury. Tyson Fury, when he retired, he went through all these things he went through. He came back with that right mindset and became champ. I can't see AJ, and I can't put them in the same class. So, yes, I think he had a solid career, right?
Solid?
I'm saying solid. Like
solid.
He had a great
Shady.
A great career.
Is he a Hall of Famer?
Like a Hall of Famer guy, right?
Yes. He beat Vladimir Klitschko, Joseph Parker. Help me out. Listen,
Dillian White.
Dillian White. Pulev, and by the way, he was so good, but he beat guys
fought
like
Dylan
Pulev and
White
Dillian.
early. Remember you said something other. You said the difference between UK heavyweights and American heavyweights, that over here, that it seemed like it takes so long to fight.
Yes.
Anthony Joshua and Dylan White in America does not happen that early.
Okay.
That was a great domestic fight early on in their both career, and he was able to do
talking about
that.
heavyweights, right?
Shady,
We talking heavyweights?
Let me build on that.
Anything that got to do with AJ.
Let me build on that
saying.
for 1 second, Shady. Let me build on that for 1 second. AJ had reached a level where most boxing fans, not in England, but most boxing fans, like, so what? He beat Dillian White like he's supposed to. That's a big thing. You're supposed to beat dudes like that. Pulev, yeah, he's supposed to beat a guy like Pulev. Those are good fighters.
Can we do a poll? Can we do a poll?
You said it wasn't personal. Maybe you lost a lot of money on him.
That's what
that what it was?
Did you? I don't put my money on guys like that. Sorry.
Okay.
Real quick, we should do a poll and let's see if he's a Hall of Famer, right? Let's see. Because all I'm saying is
it's not even
the only person up
opinionated,
here
though.
that actually has a vote in the Hall of Fame, and I'll be voting for Anthony Joshua, first ballot.
Well, you like him. The first thing you said is he's a great guy.
I'll back you up for a second here. One of the issues you have, like undefeated fighters are hard to beat, not just because their record says, hey, they don't lose, but because they're not used to losing. And people out there, everyone can relate to this. You ever quit in the gym? A lot of people, they go to the gym, they leave for a little while, go back to the gym, they lose some weight, they put it back on. The issue is, like, when you're on a good roll, even when you don't feel good, you get up, you go to the gym, right? Eventually one day you're like, maybe not today. And when you're in that mindset of you have to do something all the time, you're dedicated, whether or not you feel like it.
Okay.
The sense is, if you don't do it, the sun's not going to come up tomorrow, right? But the day you quit and you just kind of don't do it that day, hey, the sun came up the next day after all. Maybe it's not the end of the world.
Come on now.
And now you know how to quit. So the question is, whether this is just losing or quitting something in himself that wouldn't allow him to lose once upon a time, AJ has learned that the sun still rises even after he's lost badly.
Is that a champion? Is that a Hall of Famer?
That can happen to anyone. That can happen to anyone.
There's some guys I can't see that.
Don't let Shady make you think AJ have quit before. Don't be.
I'd agree. I don't think he has.
He's never quit.
I don't think he has.
However,
Malik, to be fair, and I think people who say he quit against Ruiz knocked him out, but
Shady said he quit against Dubois. He was laying out.
He was laying out. He got up.
Please.
What I can't get out of my mind is he did get up against Klitschko when it looked like the fight was over.
Yes.
And it didn't happen exactly the same way with Ruiz or Dubois. Now, it may just be that his brain told his legs, get up, his legs couldn't do it. Or maybe there's something in him that is not as hungry as it used to be. That's what you're claiming. I'm with Malik, actually.
Bank account. I'm good, I've got money, I'm cool.
I'm with Malik. I don't think it's an issue of quitting, but there are people like you who have said the same thing.
When you're a warrior, though, the warrior don't go away. If I get down, I'm going to get back up, right? I'm going to keep fighting. When I watch the fight against the ball, I see him, he's getting his tail whooped on, and you in there smiling. I'm like, this dude ain't serious. You think we ever seen Canelo or Crawford doing getting whipped on, they are smiling? No. They don't fight, they'll get focused.
Mike thought that was going to happen to Crawford.
Yeah, I thought the favor was going to win. I'm sorry.
You thought Crawford was going to be convinced he couldn't win.
Oh, yeah, he was
ridiculous. All right, look, guys, not too long ago, AJ versus Deontay Wilder was the fight that the world wanted to see.
Yes.
To me, that is an object lesson in boxing, where you mentioned it. If that happened in the States, AJ and Dillian White doesn't happen forever, right? Or maybe never happens.
Never happened.
That fight people thought was eventually going to happen.
Yeah.
But to me, the object lesson is if you leave the fruit on the vine too long to ripen, it rots. You have to pick it when it's ready. And getting back to Zuffa Boxing, by the way, and what Turkey is doing now, which is why I again will say I like the fact that he's bringing up Atama and Usyk already, even though people feel like it's too soon. I know what they mean, but he's already bringing it up, is once upon a time, Sugar Ray Leonard won the gold medal in 76. By 79, he built Wilfred Benitez. 3 years later, who was a prodigy. The next year, he fought Roberto Duran twice. The next year, he fought Tommy Hearns. Yes, they built it, but they didn't wait like Mayweather-Pacquiao until after the expiration date.
I mean, I think Wilder-Joshua, that fight was first supposed to happen, I believe, in 2019.
2018.
That was a major setback for boxing. I mean, people were dying to see that fight on both sides of the ponds. Two of the biggest punchers in heavyweight history.
I'm gonna say it was worse than when Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis was supposed to fight.
Probably,
I think so much more people was looking forward to Deontay and AJ fighting each other then.
I'd love that fight.
And we still haven't seen Fury and AJ either.
Just gave the title up. He just put the title.
I think Bo. I don't know if it was bigger than Bo Lewis, but it was. Well, also Bo Lewis came around at a time where Mike Tyson was still around, looming. There's Holyfield. There's other. But these guys came around where people had seen Tyson Fury, Vladimir Klitschko, and even though Fury won, it wasn't exciting, and there was no one else that was perceived to be on these guys' level.
Right. Can I ask you a question? All three of you guys, right? Max, I want you to start first because I feel like you understand what I'm saying. Was there ever a time where Anthony Joshua's career where he was the man where like not even feared, because feared is everybody's not feared but can be great, but was super respected, like, oh, that's Anthony Joshua.
Yes, I would say heading into the Joseph Parker fight.
Yes.
Anthony Joshua, I want to say, was something like a 3-1 favorite if memory serves.
That's not bad.
Joseph Parker, people have to understand, was a very hot heavyweight prospect come contender. He was an excellent fighter, and one of the guys, when I thought of the world of heavyweight boxing, I thought Joshua Wilder, Fury, Parker, and Usyk at cruiserweight, because I figured eventually he'd come up. But Parker, to me, was in that group.
Right.
And he beat Parker comprehensively, but not in an exciting way.
Right. I cut the commentary off for the fight, Max, and I thought Parker won by 2 rounds.
Really? And I like Parker.
Cut the commentary
off.
I think you should turn it back on.
Why I ask you that question? Because if I asked you a name like Tyson Fury, you would say there was a point where like, yo, yes. We talk about Usyk, yes. Even Deontay Wilder, there was a point in time where he had everybody like, yo, he's probably the most scary guy. I've never ever felt that about AJ. That's all I'm saying. So when I name other greats,
the knockout ratio,
I feel differently.
Because AJ, part of AJ's appeal, and there've been fighters like this, is his vulnerability. He had an offense. It was basic, but it was a lot to deal with, and yet defensively he was hittable, right, and hurtable. So you tell me you're going to have a fighter. We just talked about 50-50 fights. Where on his biggest nights at the time, you're thinking, I don't know if he's in against another guy. He might win, he might lose. That's an exciting fighter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but even being vulnerable, like Tyson Fury was vulnerable too.
What are you smiling about?
Because I just can't.
I just can't get over Shady on this.
Because when I say the Fury and I say Wilder and I say Usyk and I say these guys and you take AJ at their best, I can't see him in that light.
He's not on their level.
He don't even look at him in the class of.
I don't. At they height of career, like I don't think Wilder's in that class. But there was a time where we was like, yo, Wilder was.
You saying you never thought AJ should have been mentioned in that?
I mean, he's
when he beat Klitschko,
obvious.
He's a good fighter.
Yeah.
But the way I hear people praying and I hear y'all talking, I'm like.
Okay, so the night after he beat Klitschko, the day after, next morning.
Years ago.
Hold on, he's an Olympic gold medalist, an undefeated pro who just climbed off the deck to knock out a heavyweight champ who reigned for 10 years.
Yes.
In front of 100,000 people, and that dude, you thought he's okay?
Not okay. He's a really good fighter, but first of all, that's long ago.
Okay,
that's long ago.
Right.
But I'm saying there's never a point where I'm like, yo. This dude is the guy. I've never felt like that.
You're not alone. Like, you know who else doesn't feel that way? Who? Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder. Both those guys did not look at AJ the way they looked at each other.
That's what I'm saying. And if they can say it, your boy can say it.
Well, Shady will tell you what he thinks for sure. That's what he's doing here. Right. All right, guys. Coming up, it's Cop's Corner. All the breaking news inside the ring.
Here comes Yuri Boy Kempis. Weighed in at 159.5 pounds. And the question for Yuri Boy at 35, is he a shot fighter? Meaning. And here comes John Duddy. A young man, 27 years old, from Derry, Ireland. So here we go. Wow. The young versus the old. 12 rounds of boxing for the IBA middleweight title. Ooh, what a shot on top of the head. Fireworks already. Right hand gets in for Kempis, followed by a left hook. And that eye looks very ugly for John Duddy. 20 out. Duddy, rumbled by a right hand. Kempis has him in trouble.
Big round for Campos.
The veteran. And Duddy's left eye is cut.
Bad cut on the left eye, very bad.
Yuri Boy Campus looks like he... Slows down Campos. You said it, Tommy Gallagher, like they used to do in the old days. Another right hand by Duddy. Beautiful. Campos comes back with a short right. Left right for Duddy. Again, three-punch combination from Gary Ireland. Look at him go. 10 seconds to go. Left hand.
Down on his feet.
Campos hurt again.
Oh, man. Let's see if he fights back.
Nuts and guts.
Oh, man.
Duddy terribly. And it's a minute left. There's a minute left.
Let's see if he can hold on.
Can he finish? Now Duddy fights back. Now
Duddy. What a chin by Duddy. What a fight.
What a fight.
30 seconds left. Fight in a year. Maybe the century.
Hanging in the balance.
Yeah.
Right hand. Campos.
I'd be standing.
Duddy back to the ropes. Oh, what a fight.
10 seconds to go.
By unanimous decision, and the new IBA middleweight champion, Ireland's John
Welcome back to Inside the Ring. Max Kellerman, Malik Scott, Mike Coppinger, Shady McCoy. And by the way, you can watch that full fight. John Duddy, Yuri Boy Campos. Campos, who was a top contender at welterweight, was older. He is up at middleweight by then. And Duddy was a prospect at a certain level with a local following, certainly Irish fighter, and fighting at the Little Room at MSG. By the way, you could check this out on the YouTube channel, on Salida Promotions YouTube channel, as well as many other classics. That was a great fight.
That was a great fight.
Guys, I was in Omaha this weekend, and I appeared on the Ring's live stream from the parade for Terence Crawford in Omaha, Nebraska, in light of his win against Canelo Alvarez. And I thought one of the highlights of the day, there was a big parade there, thousands and thousands of people showed up for Terence Crawford, was when Omaha's mayor, John Ewing Jr., presented, by the way, first black mayor in the history of Omaha.
That's big right there.
He presented Bud for the second time with a key to the city. Bud accepted, pointed to the key, by the way, and said something to the effect of the crowd like, hey, this means if I go to like a restaurant tonight and they say they don't have any seats available, whatever, for me and my people, they got to find seats, right? He turns to the mayor, by the way, I thought it was really funny. He turns to him and says, what does this key open anyway, right? Well, apparently, not a great birthday. The key did not open a great birthday in Omaha for Terence Crawford, who turned 38 at midnight, right? Because he was pulled over for, I'm quoting, reckless driving, according to Omaha police, after the police observed a gun on the floor of his car. They pulled Crawford out of the car. Turns out the gun was registered to his security, who's licensed to carry, of course. This was all captured on video and has been making the rounds on social media. By the way, Bud Crawford has not been charged with a DUI or anything like that. So I don't know what reckless driving might mean. Was he speeding, or did he forget to signal when he changed lanes? At any rate, Omaha's mayor, John Ewing Jr., has since issued an apology and launched an internal investigation into the police.
That's right.
So there you have it.
Good.
Bud's great day kind of spoiled at the end. All right, let's change gears and get into Cop's Corner. Cop, let's start out with Canelo Alvarez. I understand you have an update.
Yes, Max. Canelo Alvarez obviously coming off of that tough loss to Terence Crawford earlier this month. I'm told that he's going to have elbow surgery. He was set to return in February in Riyadh for the third fight of that deal. That fight is now going to be delayed until Q2 or Q3 of 2026. So Canelo's going to have the surgery, and then he'll come back.
For people who don't know, what does Q2 and Q3 mean?
The second quarter of the third quarter
Second
of the year.
or third quarter.
April, May, June.
So anywhere between
April and
January,
September.
February, March
Q1.
is off. That's Q1. So anywhere from
April to September.
Through September in
Correct.
that area.
In that area, Canelo Alvarez is still the face of boxing. Even after the loss, he's going to come back, and the expectation would be it would be in Riyadh. He has 2 more fights remaining on that deal with the Riyadh season.
So he was supposed to have a fight in February, right?
Yes.
So what happens in its place?
So in his place now, Max, I'm told after talking to His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh that he's going to put together another supercard. He did a supercard last February, earlier this year, and he's looking at 2 guys that are fighting November 22nd on another stack card. David Benavidez, who's fighting Anthony Yard, Devin Haney, who is fighting Brian Norman. Turki Al-Sheikh told me if both of those guys win, look good, everything goes well, he would like to bring them right back in February as part of the top of that supercard.
So who would Benavidez be in with?
You know, tough to say right now, but I think you have to look at the 2 biggest fights from out there are obviously Dimitri Bivol and David Benavidez. I don't know if they're going to be available then.
You mean Artur Benavidez?
Yes, Artur Benavidez.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We need that with
Benavidez. You know how Turkey calls it Tom and Jerry fights? When one guy runs around. You know what Benavidez and Beterbiev is? That's a Tom and Tom fight. That's a Tom and Tom fight right there. Those guys would go, there ain't no Jerry in that fight.
It's a dream come true fight. And it's also like a fight that, like, once again, if it's not for Turki Al-Sheikh, it doesn't happen. It doesn't even get thought of. It just doesn't even get thought of. It's one of the fights I'm looking forward to. It's a phone booth fight. I don't know who wins.
Beterbiev and Benavidez?
Yes.
And
that's Beterbiev and Benavidez is so good. It's one thing just to have rock'em sock'em robots, right? Oh, these 2 guys are beating each other up. It's another thing when that fight is contested at the highest level.
Come on now, yeah.
Like, there are not that many of those fights. Corrales-Castillo at lightweight. Diego Corrales, Jose Luis Castillo at lightweight. That's the kind of fight
It got
I would
knockout
expect.
written all over it.
But
Knockout
light
written all over it.
heavyweights.
And they come to thump, Max.
I mean, if you guys
Knockout written all over it,
ever
man.
saw Matthew Saab Muhammad, Matthew Franklin, then he converted, was named Matthew, took the name Matthew Saab Muhammad, fight, Yaqui Lopez, or they had these Marvin Johnson fights in the early 80s at light heavyweight. Yeah. Beterbiev Benavidez is one of those fights, but these guys are, it's 2 guys who are, I love Yaqui Lopez and everything. These guys are at a better level.
Hey, Malik, we had David Benavidez on the show, and he said he flinched about the Canelo fight. He said, listen, I'm chasing some greats. He said, I want to fight Bivol, or if we get Arthur. And I think if you get Arthur Benavidez and him in the same fight, oh my God.
And to be chasing
What?
him, to be chasing
He
him is a
chasing
whole
him.
different conversation. To be chasing him.
And Benavidez ain't gonna do no running now. Ain't doing no running.
Oh, it's a phone booth fight. It got
phone booth
knockout
fight.
written all over it.
And they both can box.
Oh, get your
And they
popcorn
both
ready.
can box.
Benavidez, when he was on the show last week, calls out Bivol and Beterbiev.
Yeah, looking for
no
you.
one. If you want, how many fighters who have ever lived, how many light heavyweights who have ever lived, could get through that 2-step without losing?
Right.
Bivol and Beterbiev. Maybe some could, but woo, I don't care what light heavyweight you're talking about from what era. They see those 2 dudes and they go, that's not going to be easy.
Yeah, He don't do no ducking.
Yeah.
He only like chicken.
And those are the
all
top 2
smoke.
options, Max. Obviously, we have to see if they're available.
Yeah.
Dimitri Bivol recovering from back surgery, and Beterbiev has not fought since he lost to Bivol.
What else we got, Mike?
What else we got, Max? We have Conor Benn coming up in our next segment with an interview,
Yeah.
and I'm going to give you some news on him real quick. The rehydration clause for this fight, same as the first fight. That means the fight's out of middleweight, 160 the day before the fight, and then it cannot weigh more than 170 the morning of the fight. And there's substantial penalties, financial penalties, for every half pound over, whether it's the morning before the fight or the morning of the fight. So Chris Eubank said that it was a very tough weight cut, especially the rehydration portion of it. Last time he had to leave go to the hospital. He's gonna have to do it again.
Yeah, I mean, I really hate. I want boxing to get back to day of weigh-ins. I say this all the time, but the reason they moved off of day of weigh-ins was because guys were dehydrating and they felt it was too dangerous. But no good deed goes unpunished. So they say, okay, we'll move it back a day. But all that happened was fighters took advantage of the extra day and come in even more dehydrated. Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, what else we got, Mike?
And also on Conor Benn, Max, he hasn't fought at 147 pounds since 2022. He had 2 fights at 154, stay busy fights. I was told by his manager, Keith Connolly, that the plan after this fight is to chase a title at his first fight at 147 after the Eubank.
And by the way, the rematch, of course, will be on DAZN. The first fight was a legitimately great fight.
Classic.
You could
Classic.
think whatever you want about whatever level the fighters are on, but they got together and produced a legitimate classic.
Classic.
It was a classic. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the next one, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's a trilogy.
All right. Does Conor have to win the next one to make a trilogy?
Well, he could just make it an argument.
Guys,
he gotta win. We gotta win one of these fights.
On this show, we're going to bring up Moses Atama as much as humanly possible.
He's nice.
He's drawing comparisons to Mike Tyson because he's young, and Tyson was really good at a young age, and he's fast hands, and he hits hard.
He can punch.
He's also
He can
a
punch.
southpaw. All right, what do you have on Atama?
Moses Atama, Max. Anyone you talk to in boxing, they'll tell you the same thing you're saying. He is the real deal. And he's going to fight probably in December in the UK. I'm told that he could be paired with Derek Chisora in his 50th fight, not against Chisora, but paired with him in separate fights, or he could fight in the main event in a
See where
tougher
it says
type fight.
Atama right there? It says
Right.
Atama having trouble finding opponents. What's that all about?
No one wants to fight this guy, and a manager told me basically that this guy will end your fighter's career, that he will end your fighter's career. The quote is basically, look, he's a dangerous southpaw. You're going to have to overpay to get a top 10 heavyweight. He's like the heavyweight Manny Pacquiao.
Is this a
He's laying on
heavyweight
his feet.
manager? Is this a manager of heavyweights?
Yes, this is a manager of a top 10 heavyweight.
So you spoke to a manager of a top 10 heavyweight and asked him basically like, what about an Atama fight? And he's like, you got to pay me a whole lot.
Yeah, he's basically saying the same thing I'm hearing from everybody in boxing, is that if your guy wants to get in with Moses, they want to get paid, overpaid, basically, because they know that Moses can do what they did to Dillian White.
Because he'll retire them.
Yes.
Yeah, he'll make them look bad. He'll destroy
And by the
them.
way, this is
trying
what
to cash
happens
out.
whenever there's a heavyweight phenom. This is what happens. They match him against named fighters. Sometimes they once held the belt. It started with Joe Louis, actually. Joe Louis fought between Jack Dempsey and Joe Louis. And Gene Tunney beat Jack Dempsey, 1927 I'm going back to. The heavyweight title, Tunney retires, then the heavyweight title starts changing hands. Max Schmeling, Max Baer, Primo Carnera, Jim Braddock. So when Louis came up, he just started knocking all the ex-heavyweight champions out. But as you said, basically ending careers. Wow. Mike Tyson did the same thing. When Mike Tyson came up, they started feeding him. Now, he already had a belt by this time, but he started fighting all the guys who had passed belts around before and brutalizing those guys.
Yeah,
So they want, so for Atama, they want to get paid.
Right, and Max, look, Atama, just 20 years old still, so you probably, if you don't want to fight him now, you're definitely not going to want to fight him in a couple of years as he gets better. I'm told 3 names that were explored, all in the top 10, Philip Hergovich, Jalil Zhang, and the other name's escaping me at the moment, but they couldn't find anybody for him. They're looking right now at Michael Hunter.
Who can fight, by the way. Michael Hunter is a good fighter.
He's a very good fighter. That would be the best option.
Michael Hunter gave Usyk a good fight at cruiserweight.
Yeah,
I called that fight. Hunter. When I saw how Usyk was able to outclass Michael Hunter, I thought, oh my God, he might be heavyweight champ one day because of how he did against Hunter, who gave him a good fight. That is an excellent opponent for Usyk.
And then
for Atama.
And the name that I forgot was Drill Miller. That was the other fighter they were looking at. Miller was going to fight Hunter. They offered him Moses Atama. The other name that's being exported right now, besides Hunter Max, is David Adelaide. Just had a war with Philip Hergovich earlier this year on DAZN.
Watch this. You're going to get a trivia question right. Ready for this? Moses Atama is the youngest heavyweight to be ranked in the top 10 by Ring Magazine since who?
Mike Tyson.
Correct.
Come on, man. That's an easy one. That was a layup. Come on.
What did Shady win?
Yeah, what I win?
He read it on our lower third last week on this show.
Oh, I didn't even know. Come on, man.
He's like, come on, I don't read stuff.
A layup?
All right. Coming up, we chat with Conor Benn ahead of his rematch with Chris Eubank Jr. Or maybe it's going to be a trilogy, according to Malik Scott. It's Inside the Ring.
They ducking.
Jerome Boots Elliott.
Big clubbing left for Boots again. Shukazan is down.
Professional championship style beatdown by Boots Ellis, man.
The defining win of his career.
The White Rhino seems in a really happy place.
Welcome back to Inside the Ring. I'm Max Kellerman. That is former heavyweight contender and current world-class trainer Malik Scott. That's our insider Mike Coppinger. And that is boxing fan Shady McCoy. Also on the all-decade team. He likes to remind me. Yeah, he likes to remind me. All right, listen. We are now bringing in a man who will be taking on Chris Eubank Jr. for a second time after their epic first fight. Conor Benn, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure, guys. Pleasure being on.
Hey, Conor, I want to jump right. First of all, I mean, everyone has told you, I'm sure, wherever you go, that first fight was unbelievable. That was really an epic.
Classic.
And it reminded me of, like, you know, Jackie Frazier fights Layla Ali once upon a time. Jackie wasn't even a fighter, but something about Ali Frazier, it's like a blood feud. It's always going to be this epic thing. Going into the fight, was that on your mind, like the family history? How much of that fueled the whole thing?
You know what? For me, it's just about making sure the fight delivers, because there's a lot of fights out there that, you know, there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of noise, but they under-deliver and they turn out to be boring fights. You know, for me, it was a matter of going in there and giving people value for money and living up to the family name. It's a priority for me, really. So I put that pressure on myself to make sure that the fight was one hell of a fight. And it done what it said on the tin, and it delivered.
It not only delivered, it was so epic. The whole thing with you know, Eubank's father, you know, Chris Eubank coming out and all that kind of stuff. It was not only the best version of what it could be, but this is a fight people will never forget. This is going down in boxing history as one of the really kind of epic fights of the era. There were some wild accusations made by Chris Eubank Jr. at the presser that his ambulance was blocked from leaving the arena. He also said that his toenail came off because of extreme dehydration. Do you have any reaction to any of that?
First of all, the ambulance situation is outrageous, and you can't be making them accusations. Listen, I don't like Chris. I don't have to like him, but no one's out to hurt anybody here, you know. And it's a shame that he lives in that world of paranoia where he genuinely believes that anybody's out to get him, because nobody really is. And it's for his toenail. I couldn't care less about his toenail. You know, like, bro, like, I don't care. I mean, I'll cut some of mine off and give it to him if he wants.
Yeah, Conor, speaking of dehydration, as we know, it was a 2-fight deal, right? We're going to have the same rehydration cost for this second fight, so which means he can't weigh more than 170 pounds the morning of the fight. Last time he missed weight, right, 160.5 on the first weigh-in.
He missed his actual professional weight that he's made his whole career, which I found extremely bizarre. You know, and he went a long way for a lot of sympathy and votes from the media, and it cost him, you know, 500 grand. So, I mean, I'm not moaning about it, but he missed his weight that he makes.
Chris, but just to be clear, that 500 grand goes to you? How much of the 500 grand goes to you?
No, I bought a new Rolls Royce with the full amount.
There you go. So far, so good. Yeah. So far, so good.
Abandoned, huh?
Right.
I mean, I get in the car every day and I go, thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Right, but Conor, I saw comments from Eubank's promoter, Ben Shalom, earlier this week saying it's not fair, it shouldn't be in place. You know, Canelo Crawford didn't have it. But from my eyes, this was a part of the agreement. You're a 147-pounder. I know you had 2 fights at 54, but those were kind of like stay busy fights. You're the one jumping up 2 weight classes.
I was 152 for them fights as well. I don't think it's 154. I'm currently now walking around 156. So for me, you know, it's not for the belts. Canelo Crawford didn't have it because it's for all the belts. You know, he's fighting Canelo for, as I said, all the belts. So for me, I wasn't willing to come up to 160. Really, it was the first fight was 157 that fell through. You know, and I said, you know what? Listen, I'll meet you at 160. I'll come up to middleweight. I'm not a middleweight. I have aspirations and dreams of dropping back down to 147. You know, so my team done the best in looking after me, making sure I'm not getting in there with a 180, 190 pound guy, and me still going in the ring at 156, 157. You know, and that's his job to do. His team's job to do that, and his team haven't done that. So, you know, he wants to talk about the A side, this and that. Well, then if you are the A side, well then why are we fighting? Why are you moaning? This is what you guys have agreed.
Right. And look, as I mentioned earlier in the show, right, I spoke to your manager, Keith Connolly, and he said that your next fight basically is going to be at 147 pounds. You want that title shot. You haven't fought at 147 since 2022. How easy is it for you to make that weight, and why is it your best weight?
Because I'm most dangerous at 147. I feel like, well, obviously I'm still now fighting these guys that are bigger guys. Evidently, you can see. and they're big guys. I fancy the challenge. Don't get me wrong. I'll fight any man. It's not about a matter of me going, oh, you know, he's this and he's that. I'll fight any man as long as the price is right. But I'm most dangerous at 147 with the 8-ounce gloves. Feel better at the weight, faster, sharper, more agile, more explosive. For me, God willing, and I say God willing because it's my dream to win the WBC World Title. First call next year. God willing, we can make Barrios fight. He's a great champion. I'd love to fight the champion for the belt and continue my father's footsteps. I mean, my dad was WBC world champion, and for me, that belt, well, my dad's given me the belt. I have it hanging up in my gym, and he says on it, my dad wrote a letter going, go get your son. So for me, Eubanks is at a different stage of his career. For me, I'm still on them world title dream goals and aspirations that are in sight.
Well, Conor, that fight was tremendous. You showed a lot of power going up weight class, but you talked about going back to 147. Who's somebody that you might pick out there in 147 that'll be a really, really good fight that the fans really, really love?
Have you asked me who?
Who? I'm asking you who, brother. At 147, who would you like to fight?
Who I like to fight Barrios. Once they've got their WBC world title, you are... it's a hard one because I sit there and I go, God, I'd like to mix it with Shakur. I like to mix it, all the Yanks, all the Americans. They are currently killing it. Obviously, you got Lewis Crock here who won the IBF, but as for Devin Haney, Brian Norman, I'd love the winner. As for Shakur, if he wants to come up, Shakur. Who else is there? Any of your top guys? Right. Do you know what I mean? You want to compare yourself to them because we put them on a pedestal over here. So you really want to mix it with them and do a number on them.
I got to ask you one more question. I just got to ask this question real because I got to know. Now, in sports, we love storylines. Like some teams might not like each other. They say certain boxers, they fight.
I don't like it.
For the presser, they get excited, like, oh, we're going to do this and that. And then after the fight, they hug up. What's the real beef with you and Chris? Because it looks like it's real beef. I got to know, where does that come from?
No, do you know what it is? I don't think, I mean, you could say like father, like son, but I just don't feel like he's my cup of tea. Like, I don't, like.
Oh, you just don't like him?
I don't like him. No, I don't like him. But I don't have to like him.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Why do I have to like you? If I don't like you, I'll tell you I don't like you. I feel like we live in today's age where people feel like they feel entitled that I have to like them. I don't have to like you. I don't have to like anybody. Do you know what? I don't like who I work with. I don't have to like who I fight. Ultimately, that was my mistake first time round. Is my hatred and bitterness and anger towards him is what made the fight what it was, but also took away from what I should have done in the fight.
Conor, what's up, brother? I hope everything's going well in camp for you.
Yes, brother.
I have a question. I have a 2-in-1 question. I know you said that you going up is not even a thought because you're going down to 47, but you winning the Eubank Jr. rematch, the same names that he's calling out basically afterwards, he's calling the Canelos, he's calling for the Charlos. Would you ever consider even testing yourselves going up even more from there? I know you said, but at the same time you said you wouldn't go up. You also said money talking.
It's prize fighting.
You know what I mean? So is that something that you would consider?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we all have a bit of
It's Canelo. It's Canelo, baby.
You know what it is? I would feel very unfulfilled if I chased the bag and chased money over a world title that I feel like's there for me. You know, I feel like could I live with myself knowing I got all the money in the world, but just didn't take that shot at the world title? What if? Imagine if. Because I feel like I've sidetracked a lot of my career for these two fights as it is, you know, and I feel like my calling is to get that WBC world title. You know, it was something that I dreamed of, and very few fighters retire with the money and the title. You know, so if I can have both, I'm not greedy, but if I can have both, I'll be a very, very, very happy man. Because then nobody can say anything. Yeah, I'm still driving around in my Rolls and I've got a nice house and I've got this. But then again, if they give me a Godfather offer and they go, listen, this is what you're getting, you know, 8 figures, 9 figures, whatever, you're going to have to look at it, aren't you?
Conor, you said something earlier about you want the Yanks. And it makes me think of your father who was this dominant, really like a great middleweight in this really exciting era, but it happens over on your side of the pond, so the American press was not as aware of how good he really was. And then his greatest victory against Gerald McClellan, because it ended in McClellan's kind of, permanent changing in terms of his life because of what that fight took out of him, is not frequently re-aired and stuff, right? Even though the fight itself is a tribute to both fighters. When you say you want the Yanks, is that partly the result of your father's experience where he is not as celebrated on this side of the pond as he might otherwise be? But if you get those fights against the American fighters, then you will get a different kind of recognition maybe than he got? Is any of that on your mind?
No, because I feel like I'm quite known over there. In a really weird way, every time I've been to America, the love I get shown over there is second to none. It's always overwhelming for me when I go to the States and seeing all the love I do get shown. And you guys wanting me to fight the likes of Haney, the Ryan Garcias, the Shakurs, these guys over there, and for me, I've always been welcomed over there. Always, like, my fan base over there is a beautiful fan base. But I would love to just go over there, take the title and bring it home. That for me is just something I've always wanted to do. Just going over there and beating your champion and bringing it home. I feel like there's something rewarding in.
Conor, how hard would it be to make the weight coming from 160 to 147? Like, how would that weight drain be for you?
I've got a full team here on lock who has measured, every depth and inch of my body to make sure that I can make the weight healthily, of course, because you hear the people go up in weight, they can't get back down.
Yes.
I'm walking now, I've been careful with my weight, I'm walking around now about 156. So when you look at it, I'm 10 pounds over, 11 pounds over the 147 limit. So, it shouldn't be an issue at all. Based on the science and studies that we've done, making sure I can make the weight. I don't look at this fight and go, okay, well, I can do what I want. I'm basically going to fight middleweights. That's it. I'm thinking ahead and making sure that getting down to 147 is doable.
Conor, I was there in April ringside. It was one of the best atmospheres I've ever had the privilege of being at a fight for. Can't wait to be back in November. You mentioned earlier that you don't want to get sucked into another kind of fighting off emotion. I know that's difficult when you don't like the guy and you have 70,000 plus screaming. But having said that, what do you think is the biggest adjustment you have to make to win this fight?
Good question.
Actually, I like Chris. I like him. And that's what I think I've got to keep telling myself. But, yeah, I know. I feel like when I get in there, do you know what I was disappointed with is the fact that I know emotions over Rudder. It just took over. Everything just took over. Not the actual fight night itself, or the occasion, or the people, it was just the whole build up, the whole lead up, the whole. My first fight back in 14 months out the ring. My first fight at middleweight, and my first fight back in the UK in 3-4 years. So it wasn't just actually him or the fight. It was like there was a whole. There was a lot more to it. So it's just a matter, and it's just experience, that's all. A lot of first times again at 160, first fight of this magnitude, first fight back in the UK in 14 months. So for me, it's just a matter of doing what I know to do, just fighting the way I know to fight, not trying to look at rendering him unconscious and having him face down, as much as that would be nice. That's not what.
Can't help myself. I know. You're trying to talk yourself into it. You talk yourself right out of it. Listen, Conor, pleasure talking to you. That was an illuminating interview.
Yes.
And listen, either you follow your game plan and you have a better time this time, or you don't. And we have another great time. Either way, I think the fans win.
Absolutely.
Appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget that Conor Benn fights Chris Eubank Jr. in a rematch of this word is tossed around too often, but it applies here, an epic first fight. That's November 15th, only on DAZN, and we'll be right back with more Inside the Ring. Coming up, truth be told about Jake Paul and much, much more on Inside the Ring.
But Anthony Yarde, he fears no man. He wants David Benavidez, and there's not a lot of fighters in the world that do.
Body shot from Yarde. Shot to the head. Down he goes. Solid shot. Right hand.
Anthony Yarde.
Bad blood. Genuine hatred. Chris or Conor. This fight living up to all the hype.
Chris Eubank
Boxers have always been built, developed both as athletes and businesses. Prospects are usually matched carefully when they turn pro, so they can acquire experience and hopefully build a following. First a 4-round fight to get their feet wet, then another against a slightly better opponent. Then maybe against a tall fighter who boxes from the outside, a short fighter who pressures, you maybe slip in a southpaw, and so on. Eventually, guys with winning records in 6-round fights and then 8-rounders, and assuming the prospect keeps winning, you look up and he's going 10 rounds against maybe not actual contenders, but at least against guys who have fought actual contenders. And if he wins a couple of those, he's as ready as he's ever going to be to fight a world-class opponent. And if he's been able to build a following, then he's not only developed as a boxer, he's also developed a business. But is that business sustainable? In other words, how good is the fighter? If you think you got the goods, you put him in with real contenders so that he not only earns a title shot, but he's ready to win it when the time comes. If you don't think your fighter's good enough, you try to land the big money fight immediately. You cash out in a fight he has no chance to win because he's likely to lose before he ever gets to the top. In other words, at a certain point, the fighter is as ready as he's ever going to be and has a decision to make. Jake Paul was a famous YouTuber when he started boxing as a 19-year-old. So as a boxer, he was undeveloped. But his first fight came in front of an audience of millions. He was a business from the very beginning. Now, with the right opponent, someone the public is aware of, he makes big events. Huge. But by the time professional boxers are well enough known to be that opponent, they're far too good for him. Unless they're way past their prime, or way too small, or otherwise provide Jake with some enormous handicap. So the problem he always has to solve is how to develop as a boxer while coming up with opponents who capture the public's imagination but won't easily beat him. After going through YouTubers and former non-combat sport athletes and boxing adjacent celebrities like past their prime UFC champions, he had to eventually start fighting actual professional boxers. The first one he chose was Tommy Fury, half-brother of heavyweight champ at the time, Tyson Fury. Tommy Fury had limited experience and was not a puncher, but gave Jake no enormous handicap. He wasn't too old or too small, and though only a sometime boxer and other times a reality TV star, he handed Jake his first loss. Since then, Jake seems to have gotten the message. When he wants to make a big event against an actual boxer, he makes sure the opponent is either ancient, like the approaching 60-year-old Mike Tyson, or tiny, like the 60-pound smaller Tank Davis. But you have to hand it to him. He knows how to find opponents who capture the public's imagination. And by the public, I mean you and me. I watched the Tyson fight or exhibition or whatever that was, and I'll watch him against Tank too, and so will you. And that's why people are mad about it. Because we know we're being manipulated, exploited. We know it's bullshit. Sorry, BS. But we also know Jake Paul has done it again. He's found a guy we will be compelled to watch him fight. His business is incredibly developed. But what about his boxing? Because he's nearing the point where he has a decision to make. If Jake wins, does he believe he's ready even for Tommy Fury again? Does Jake believe he's the goods? Or has he been convinced that he will always need some giant handicap? My assessment of Jake Paul, the boxer, as of right now, He's a big punching 8-round cruiserweight who, were he not already famous, would be something of a local attraction, fighting maybe 2 fights before the main event on small off-TV cards. And he's handling his career as though he agrees. All right, guys, so there's the tale of the tape. He's fighting a guy, and Tank Davis, Jake Paul is. He's, half a foot taller, but significantly, he's 65 pounds heavier. What do you guys think?
Max, look, I don't blame anybody for getting paid. You mentioned the Jake Paul, all the credit in the world to him and the way he's handled his business in boxing. He delivers big events for tens of millions of dollars. Sure. He's really good at it. Yeah. And Gervonta Davis, you said he lost to Lamont Roach. It was officially a draw. It was a very tough fight. Supposed to fight Lamont Roach in August. Not the best look, in my opinion, when you're in your prime still and you're one of the biggest stars in all of boxing. When you say, you know what, forget the rematch. I'm going to do this big money fight instead. Do I blame Gervonta Davis for getting paid? No. I don't like the timing of it when he didn't do the rematch. If he had done the rematch, no problem. But my actual main issue, Max, here is the manipulation, as you mentioned right there in the monologue. They're talking about Jake Paul, I'm going to deliver a viral knockout, or Gervonta Davis, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. No, there's not going to be any viral knockout. No one's going to hurt anybody. This is an exhibition.
Oh, you think this is like the Tyson fight was not an actual contest, right?
And this is that.
It was pretty obvious after a round that Jake could do whatever he wanted.
Of course, Jake went easy on Mike Tyson.
Mike was ancient. I mean, Mike, even who lost to his last fight, would destroy Jake in 30 seconds.
Right.
But this Mike is,
60 years old, right.
Jake did the right thing and took it easy on him. You're saying that the Gervonta Davis fight, you don't expect to be an actual athletic competition?
I mean, we're talking about they're wearing big gloves. They're fighting, what? He's at 135. Gervonta Davis is a lightweight. Jake Paul is a heavyweight.
It's a carnival.
It's a carnival event, like you say in the week. And again, when you're manipulating the audience and pretending like it's a real fight.
Excuse me, man. It's a carnival to enjoy it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I would give you an example. I get upset if someone asks me, who you think going to win the Jake Paul or Gervonta?
Right.
I'm like, well, let's put that another way. Am I going to watch the carnival? Then I'll say yes. But I can't even really judge those type of things.
But are you agreeing with Mike? Like, Mike, you seem to be suggesting to me
Mike is
that
saying
you don't think
that
this is a fight that is going to be an actual athletic competition. I don't know about that. I think that if this turns out to be an exhibition the way the Tyson fight turned out to be an exhibition, then Jake's business is in trouble. Because then the public will feel defrauded as though, hey, wait, we paid to see an actual competition and we didn't see one. I think here they're going to have to compete against each other.
I mean, I just think the best case scenario of what this could be is what we saw with Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather. Another, Jake's brother, who's also much bigger than Mayweather.
Well, they were competing against each
other. I don't think they were throwing
throwing
haymakers trying to knock each other out.
I think Logan was. Yeah.
Logan was
I
swinging.
think Logan was trying.
And if Jake is winging like that at Little Tank, don't be surprised if something crazy
happens. I was there. I was ringside, unfortunately, for that event. I thought it was bad. I didn't enjoy it.
At all.
I did not enjoy it. I was working it, though. I wasn't there as a fan.
The biggest thing is that Jake Paul, I give him credit. He is probably the best businessman I've ever seen, other than Jerry Jones. He's fooling people thinking, hey, I'm about to fight these big names.
Yes.
And it don't even be a real fight. So I commend him on that. But my problem is, and even with Tank Davis, I look at Tank as like a superstar in boxing, a fighter that people love to see. But when I really watch him, I'm not mad that he's going to get this money. You know why? Because I could tell he don't really love boxing. He's just really good at it. He don't love boxing. Because when you in your prime and you love something and you have the type of mindset where I'm about to be a champ, right? You take risks, you take chances. This right here is going to his back. And after you do a fight like this, you can't compete at a competitive level with a Shakur or Tio. You can't do that no more.
Especially when you're considering retiring.
Yeah, and then it's like when you start talking about retiring and all that, and you are so great and people love to see you, like that's really a joke.
Yeah.
But I don't get mad because I'm an athlete and I love to get the money, so I get it. But as far as a competitive standpoint, like you're saying,
carnival.
I'm not hating on these guys for the money they're getting at all. Jake has brilliantly guided his career because he has fooled the YouTube crowd into thinking he's actually good. And by the way, for a guy who started boxing at 19, he is good.
I'm respecting him.
Yeah, he is good. Yeah. But like compared to world-class fighters, he's not good.
Right.
But Tank kind of has done the same thing, or at least his people have done the same thing with him. Tank Davis has been called a champion. He's never been the champion of any division. He's never beaten the man in any division. He's had some good wins. In retrospect, the Pitbull win was a nice win. It was a close fight. It was a nice win. Ryan Garcia, that's a big win. Right? Like, that's good for him. It
Dehydrated
was a
Ryan, but good win.
Yeah, right. But he has never fought, that's the champion of that division. I'm going to go fight that guy. In any division.
It was
like when people look at Floyd Mayweather, and I have said, hey, once he left lightweight, he picked and chose when he fought guys. He still was the actual champion of at least one division, but even at junior lightweight and lightweight, he cleaned out junior lightweight. He moved up to lightweight. He fought the champion in his first fight at lightweight, won a tough fight. A lot of people thought he lost, but then won the rematch. He was the champion in two. Tank never did that.
Never did it.
Never did it even in one, and now he's talking about retiring?
And you're doing it off of coming up against a struggle against Lamont Roach, who was a 9-1 underdog? He gives you that tough of a fight. You have to get the revenge.
Yeah,
he lost the Lamont Roach
it's
fight.
Lamont Roach, though. One of the most technically sound fighters in the
Yeah,
game.
and he beat Tank Davis.
At all. I give full credit to Lamont Roach.
Hold on.
Max, you're saying that like he actually won the fight like straight out.
I'll prove it to you. Give me 5 seconds. I'll prove it to you 5 seconds. The fight was called a draw, right?
Yes.
So you respect that decision, yeah? Officially, they called it a draw.
I just look at it, if a fight is close, no one is robbed.
Okay.
It's not robbed.
But I'll tell you why he was robbed. Because
The
when it went to the commission, they had a review of the knockdown, and they said, wait, if we would have taken a point away, it may have changed the rest of the fight. Okay, fair enough. However, Tank also went to his corner, which is against the rules. You can be disqualified for that, which is another advantage and should be another point. And there's no way the commission can sit there and say, with a missed knockdown and then a rules infraction, you don't take at least 1 point away. And once you do, in a draw, Lamont Roach wins.
I agree. Under those circumstances, I totally forgot about those incidents.
And Malik, I just want to say, look, full credit to Lamont Roach. He seized on his opportunity. I'm just saying that when Gervonta Davis picked Lamont Roach, he wasn't picking him thinking it was going to be a tough fight. He said, oh, here's Lamont Roach.
No, he wasn't picking him because he thought Lamont Roach was this ultimate threat.
Right.
No.
I think
But you're right. He's very technically sound.
Let me ask you this. Go.
So when I look at Tank Davis, I see a guy that has all the tools, right? Talent, quick, explosive, hits hard. But when I watch him, I look at a guy that don't trust himself. Now, what are you saying, Shay? Why would you say he don't trust himself? Because when you're that good, we look at you as a pound-for-pound type of guy, right?
Yes.
But then when I watch your fights and I see who you fighting, everybody you fight that may be really, really good, there's always something advantage for you, right? We talk about the Ryan Garcia. Now, everybody would say that Tank is probably better than Ryan Garcia, but you look, he put him in like a weight claw.
What about Leo Santa Cruz, who he almost paralyzed?
Oh, when he had to come up?
Yeah, but
he had to come
Santa
up
Cruz was coming up multiple divisions.
It was a great knockout.
By the way, it was a great knockout, but it was in a fight he was losing to a smaller guy.
I know.
Right.
I tried to slide.
So when you see something like that, it's like, yo, why wouldn't you go out there and try to get that pound for pound? Because you have the talent.
Right.
And the only thing I can think about is, you must really don't trust yourself.
And let me,
because everything shows me that.
That leads to what I want to ask you, actually. And by the way, the thing you left out about Tank, sky-high boxing IQ.
Smart.
The best fighters have fast processors.
On the rings.
Tank has a high IQ and a fast processor. He set Ryan Garcia up for the shot that knocked him out. He set Santa Cruz up for it. He sets guys up for shots. He's an extremely intelligent fighter.
Yes.
But to Shady's point, my theory is that when a fighter sees the way his people match him up, after a while, he gets the message. What I said about Jake Paul is at a certain point, you have a decision to make. You're as developed as you're going to be. Do you take the fights against the best guys so that you're ready to fight for the title when the time comes? Or do you look to cash out? In Tank's case, he's actually doing something different. They can fight names who aren't that big of a threat, right? So when Shady says Tank doesn't trust himself, could it be the case that after a career of his management carefully choosing who he fights, he's internalized that and thought, maybe there's a reason I'm not fighting the top guys?
That's a great point.
But the resume doesn't say what Max is saying.
What resume you saw?
Ryan Garcia. Leo Santa Cruz.
No, Leo Santa Cruz.
Rolly Romero is a very. I said heavy. Let me finish.
Yeah, but none of those guys are the best fighter in the division. Malik, right? Like, so he's fighting. This is what Top Rank did with Oscar De La Hoya for a while. You fight credible guys with names, good fighters, but never the killers in the division. You know, at lightweight you'll fight Rafael Ruelas, right? Or Floyd. This is when he left lightweight. Did he fight Costa Tszyu at welterweight? Did he fight Margarito when Margarito was on top? Careful, right? Tank his whole career. When you bring up Santa Cruz, he'd already moved up. Now he's moving up again, and he's older. That's not the best guy in the division.
You know what I think I'm going off of, Shady? I think I'm going off of the performance rate. I'm going off of what he did and how he did it to these guys.
So he looks better because the guys he's doing it against. But another thing about Tank is where it is like, I think he can beat a lot of them top guys.
Me too.
But you think he doesn't think that?
I don't think he does. You know why? Because we'll never have a fight where he's fighting my elite versus elite. He'll never do it. He'll never do it.
To your point,
so we won't find out.
He never even, to me, calls out the Shakurs.
Okay,
he don't even make a strong campaign.
That's another thing. If you really watch him, if he's ever asked about other elite, he dismisses it. He don't even talk about it. And I'm thinking, like, when in boxing, this is boxing, when does elite fighter versus elite fighter never get talked about? He never lets nobody ask him questions about certain things.
Shakur does his part.
He won't do it.
This is what Tank would say, I imagine, okay? Or this is where I see his perspective. He's saying, look, Shakur's had plenty of exposure, and yes, he's a popular fighter, but he's not me. Look at me. I sell out every arena. I get announced at Ravens games. I'm a big star in boxing in a fight where there aren't that many. What's that?
Come across a little bit prima donna-ish a little bit. I mean, with that type of mindset.
No question. But the fact is, he's saying, look, Shakur, you've been as exposed as I have. You have not resonated with as big an audience as I have. So you're not on my level commercially.
Do you know why that is? The reason why that is because in the black community, right, we look for that storyline. Brother from Baltimore, hard times, et cetera, beating the odds, and he's knocking people out. The same thing like Mike Tyson. That's why we love the Mike, right? Or if you get a guy like a Floyd that talks his talk and all that, or you get a guy like Roy Jones who's got all the tools. That's why we love Tank, because he comes from that type of storyline. The difference is we are not getting the results. Fight some of these type guys. Fight them.
Well, usually...
I don't even know if it may be even too late, because Tank don't love boxing how he wants to.
You make money like this for a guy like Jake Paul, you're gone. He ain't about to...
I've read quotes this week that afterwards, he said, after this, I may just go ahead and retire.
Right, and
that's almost
the
like
point.
The cool talk now.
He will retire, Malik, without ever having faced the number one guy in any division in which he's campaigned, in spite of the fact that he's campaigned in multiple divisions. He has all these belts, but never fought the champion. You know, and the reason...
Shakur has also never fought the champion.
He's tried.
He's tried.
Yeah, he's tried because no one will get near him.
I'm not saying he hasn't tried. He has tried.
He has. And you could have argued that him and Zepeda should have been for the title. Wasn't in the end. But the point is, he has been avoided. It's what I said about Floyd versus Crawford. Floyd has fought many more good fighters than Crawford has. However, what we all know is that Floyd was careful once he left lightweight, and Crawford, even though he does not have Floyd's resume, has always been sitting there saying, bring it. Everybody, bring it.
And Malik, hearing you talk about how Gervonta Davis, he looks great when he does fight those guys, I think of Gennady Golovkin. Obviously, Golovkin was being ducked, and he was older when it happens, but he was knocking out everybody left and right, solid guys, Curtis Stevens, David Lemieux.
Yes.
What happens when he faces Daniel Jacobs and then Canelo? He doesn't look indestructible
anymore. Although he was older by then.
He was older by then.
That's not again, a perfect example. With Golovkin, the difference is, and fans can sense it, I think that's what Shady's reacting to, Malik, is that in Triple G's case, he was taking whatever fights, except for Andre Ward. I don't think he wanted Andre Ward. But everyone else, who was, by the way, in the division above him. In his division, he wanted to fight everyone, and he could only take the fights that
wasn't his fight.
And that's the
same thing with Shakur, for different reasons. Not because he's going to beat you up like Golovkin, but he's going to embarrass you because he's better than everybody, right? People know the fighters who want it and the fighters who don't.
And Max, you said that best, because even with Tank, the real conflict with Tank is, as a fan of Tank, like, man, he can beat them dudes. But in the back of your mind, you're like, yo, he ain't even going to take the fight. It's weird. It's weird. You go in your head, go back and forth.
And then it comes down to, should he? And forget about the fans' point of view for a second. Once upon a time, Oscar De La Hoya, who was built by Top Rank, who has the best matchmakers in the game. They have Goodman and Trampler. Right. Carl Moretti used to be the matchmaker for main events. He was a good matchmaker.
He was my matchmaker.
Right, and he's a good matchmaker. He's not even a matchmaker there. So they know exactly what they're looking at.
Yeah.
And they were building, as before Moretti was at Top Rank, they were building Oscar, again, the way Tank's being built, against credible fighters, and he was looking great, and people thought he was the number one pound for pound, but real boxing fans knew, and we're saying it, man, Oscar's not, he's doing what Tank's doing. He's not fighting the best guy in any division. What did Oscar do? He's like, okay, went off on his own and fought everyone. People wanted to know, okay, Oscar, no hiding behind the promoter anymore. What are you about? And Oscar was about it.
He said, okay.
Now, here's where no good deed goes. Here's where no good deed goes unpunished. Oscar is not remembered on Floyd's level, but he was on Floyd's level.
Majorly, yes.
But because he wasn't careful, he suffered the consequences of losing sometimes. The price is so high on a loss in boxing. One of the things I'm hopeful about with Zuffa Boxing and now with these fights that Turkey's making is that a loss is not so. It doesn't stigmatize the fighter the same way. In the UFC, you can have some losses and you're still in the GOAT conversation.
Yes.
Right. And Max, you mentioned, right, that real fans know the fighters that want it and don't want it. We talked about November and February earlier in the show, right? David Benavidez and Devin Haney, those are two guys who want it every time out.
I'll say.
All right. Coming up, we go in the lab with Malik Scott.
Oh, gosh. Exactly the fight he wants.
Tonight, he'd be fantastic. It was just a matter of time.
And that is the shot he was looking for. Oh, great featherweight, good shot. And we will see him in the semifinal.
This place has just come alive. This is extraordinary. It's bizarre. It's mad. What a shot from Joe Parker. Round 1 KO. Fabio Wardley's done it.
Hey guys, 2 weeks ago, we witnessed one of the most biggest statement victories in the history of the sport of boxing. Terence Crawford beat Canelo Alvarez. Let's bring it into the lab to show you technically in details how he did it from my perspective. All right, we all know that Canelo first loved to land left hooks. His percentage against Crawford of landing left hooks was very low, and it's because Crawford did one of my favorite sequence defense. If you're going to the right side, be humble enough to answer the phone, have your right hand up. Every time he had his right hand up going to his right side, Canelo missed every hook because Crawford had his right hand up, what we call in boxing, having your right hand on the phone to block left hooks while you're going out to your right side. He does it again as Crawford was giving good lateral movement. This time he switched the sequence, which is very imperative. He switched the sequence of defense and started to go under. So not only was he catching shots, answering the phone, but he switched the defense from catching shots to going under. And this is something that was very, very hard for Canelo to land. His Canelo best shots wasn't able to land because of Crawford giving him different type sequence with defense, catching and getting under, left hooks and right hands. And it's not because he's not missing these shots on purpose. Canelo is used to people standing in front of him, giving him a high guard so he can play rock'em sock'em. Here you can see again, Terence Crawford is not doing that. He kept his right hand up on the phone, especially going to the right side. One of my favorite sequences from any fighter. Crawford really did a masterclass with it here. What did he do? He used a probing jab, not an intentful jab. This jab is basically to say, get out my face, stay out my face until I'm ready to do what I'm ready to do for you. Crawford did this very well. It kind of reminded me of what Pernell Whitaker did against Julio Cesar Chavez. It's a range find. It's letting Canelo know that I have you, you're not doing nothing. This is my distance, and I'm controlling this fight, not with my intentful jab, with my probing jab. I just want to probe you so you know you always have to blink. I'm always doing something in here, and there's always something going on in the boxing. Here's my favorite sequence, no silent agreements. Right here is what we all know Terence Crawford has a wrestling background. But his wrestling background doesn't just stay in his grappling gym. He brings it into boxing, which is an A+. Here, what he's doing, he's trapped on a rope, as you can see. Canelo goes to clinches him. He doesn't make silent agreements. He goes with a slight underhook. When he goes with the underhook, right here, he keeps his waist and his legs moving, and he eventually brings Canelo on the rope, stop the offense or stop anything that Canelo wanted to do, not making silent agreements. Here again, you can see Canelo is clinching. Crawford goes with the underhook and put Canelo on the ropes. That's done with intent, and that comes from Crawford wrestling background. Immediately right here, look what Crawford does, guys, immediately. Soon as he go into the clinch, the first thing he wanted to do was work his free hand. He wasn't there to what I like to call make silent agreements. The great Teddy Atlas say that. What do you do when you in the clinch? If you ever want to know what a fighter is going to do, look at him in the clinch and let you know his mindset. Canelo was attempting offense, right? Crawford clinched him, continued to move his legs, and then he gave him what I call the Larry Holmes open palm. Open palm, and he pushed the so-called bigger man to let him know that I'm bigger, I'm stronger, and this is my ring, and I'm going to gain victory today, and that's what he did.
We're going to be right back with more Inside the Ring. We talk about Virgil Ortiz against Erickson Lubin.
Jerron Boots Ennis. Big clubbing left from Boots again. Chukazan is down.
Professional championship style beatdown by Boots Ennis, man.
The defining win of his career. The White Rhino seems in a really happy place. The Lion Mahmoud.
It's easy to overlook opponents in boxing, right? We have high hopes for Virgil Ortiz, but a lot of people are looking past Erickson Lubin, who we were talking right through the commercial about. That's a dangerous fight. Lubin isn't liking the disrespect, however, as you might imagine. Check this moment out from the press conference.
I do want to say this poster right here is a little disrespectful to me and my team. They got me somewhere in the dark somewhere. They got like Virgil as the moon all over me and stuff like that, but this is disrespectful. I don't like this right here. It's disrespectful to me and my brand.
I didn't make the poster. I didn't make the poster either.
Right. This is what I mean by when we talk 60-40. Even if it's not 50-50, 60-40, 40 can beat 60.
Yes.
That happens all the time. Yeah. You know how often it happens? 40 times out of 100. That happens, right? I mean, how dangerous is Lubin in this fight, Malik?
Very dangerous. He's on the second half. I would say he was on the second half of his career, considering the tough fights that he been in with Vendora. He came back and fought Holmes, another tall southpaw that he ended up stopping. But what I like about him the most, man, is his hard work effort. Like in the gym, he continued to work hard. Like I said, he's motivated, and he's very much like mentally aware of how dangerous Ortiz is. And sometimes that could be an advantage. And I believe that he has like a lot of good momentum going in on his side. He switched trainers, I believe.
Yep, he did.
So he's going to go make some new moves.
And psychologically prepared not to be tricked into thinking, well, I'm on the back nine of my career and I'm supposed to lose. He's not having any of that.
No.
Right?
No, Max, and I think people forget one key thing about Erickson Lubin, right? And that's that this guy was the #1 prospect in all of boxing. There was actually a row years ago because USA Boxing was trying to push him into the Olympics. Instead, he signed with Mike Tyson Promotions, went pro. They weren't happy about that. He was considered the best hope to be that first gold medal winner on the male side since Andre Ward in 2004. And what happens? Lubin goes and fights Jermell Charlo way before he was ready, probably. Gets stopped in the first rounds. But this guy is a dog. Drops Sebastian Fundora. That was one of the best action fights of that year. And I think he's going to give Virgil Ortiz a very tough fight. Stylistically, it's a tough fight for Ortiz, and I think it's going to be a war.
It's going to be a war. Lubin, good dude, man. Got a lot of dog in him. I actually seen him at the Crawford fight where we were talking, and he was saying, look, man, I'm taking this fight personal. A lot of people write me off like I'm not a dog, like I can't box, like I haven't been that guy. So I'm waiting to see a really good fight. And then I like this the part of I watched him against Vendora and getting knocked down. And if you didn't really see the fight, you see the after fight, like, dang, he must have got his butt kicked. But he got knocked down and got back up and fought him, whereas most people's not fighting him.
And knocked Vendora down.
You see Tim say, yo, man, look, hey,
careful of perception too. Right?
Call that thing off.
Boxing, there's small sample sizes. We start extrapolating and getting ideas and getting a sense of things from 1, 2, 3 fights over the course of 2 or 3 years, right? So right now, when we think of Virgil Ortiz, we think, oh, the guy that Terence Crawford struggled against, Virgil Ortiz had a better time against him than Crawford did, right? Madrimov or Mean Machine or someone like that, right? And you think, because before the Canelo fight, people were saying maybe Virgil Ortiz could beat Terence Crawford. And I love Virgil, but let's not get hysterical.
People were saying that, yeah, right.
But so we have Virgil in our minds at a certain level. A lot of people think Boschuk beat Virgil Ortiz. He dropped him. A lot of people think he beat him. Right. Boschuk was just beaten by Adams for the second time. Brandon Adams for the second time. If you are going into this fight thinking, because there's a consensus, yeah, it's a great fight, but Ortiz gets him in the end, maybe Lubin wins the fight.
Yes.
Lubin gonna fight. He's gonna fight.
All right, look, before we go, here's a quick look at the zone schedule for the upcoming week. Wednesday, you can find some boxing from Lagos, Nigeria, headlined by cruiserweights Brandon Glanton and Marcus Brown. Then, Saturday in Glasgow, Scotland, a couple of top 10 fighters are in action. The ring's number 10 featherweight, Nathaniel Collins, faces Cristobal Lorente in a battle of unbeatens. By the way, when you hear the ring's top 10 featherweight, because we're not talking about sanctioning bodies, top 10 means in a sanctioning body, this might be a mandatory contender. Like a ring top 10 means you are actually the 10th ranked fighter in your weight division after the champion.
Yes.
And on the undercard, the ring's top 10 light heavyweight, Willie Hutchinson, faces Mark Jeffers. See what it means when you have a ranking body that actually considers everyone in the world and doesn't play politics? When you hear the number 10 contender, that's not some low-level guy. That doesn't mean he's the 30th best in the world, really. It means he's the 10th best in the world. All right. That does it for Inside the Ring for Malik Scott, Mike Coppinger, Shady McCoy, and me, Max Kellerman. I put myself last. We'll see you
That's a good show, guys. Huh?
By the way, good to have you on.
Yes, man. It's great.